I'm Pete Lewis, and with me today is our Parks Director, Daryl Faber, and we're off for another walk through the parks. And Daryl, we're here today at Sunset, which is a great park. It really is a truly tremendous facility. But you know, I was out here when all along Lakeland Hills Way, matter of fact, was a dirt trail just wide enough for a Jeep or a truck. And you'd come up over the top of the hill where the clubhouse is today, and that's where the road ended. And we drove out on this dirt trail. We watched a deer go across the road. We drove around just a little bit beyond this, and there was this huge cut in the earth where the parkway is today with hawks soaring over the top. And that's all that was here. You made some real changes here, so what's taken place?
Well, this is a 15-acre park that's teeming with a new type of wildlife, mostly young children. And this was done as a developer build project through Tucci and partnerships, and was turned over to the city, where the city cooperated with the developer to build this park and then turn it over. But the park features two baseball fields, which we cooperate with the Auburn Little League and Auburn Parks and Recreation, and we've hosted the state Little League championships here. It's been really successful for those venues, as well as a real active playground, a skateboard park, basketball court, as well as a picnic shelter where people from the community can rent for birthday parties, such as what's going on today.
I've noticed we have just a few people here today.
Yes. We've also added a Summer Sounds concert series here and a movie in the park, and that has been greatly received by both the Lakeland community as well as Auburn as a whole. So that's been great to add those events to the park.
Well, you certainly got a fine park here, and I love these open areas as well. What a great feature for our citizens today.
Yeah, this is a very high-use park and very popular with all of Auburn.
So, where are we at today?
Well, today we're at GSA Park, and it has a long history in Auburn. Years ago, this was the home of some of the best fast pitch in the region. Pay and Pack, Peterbilt, all those teams in the 60s and 70s came here to play, and then it kind of slowed down a little bit, and recently we've made some great improvements to the park again.
Yes, but you know, it had some history before that.
Yeah, it's from what I understand.
That's right. You know, this building right behind us, there used to be a place a long time ago called Fort Auburn during World War II, and this is part of the guardhouse system of that original fort. So everywhere you go in Auburn, there's tradition, there's history, and those ball teams that you talked about, those ball teams started up in Auburn right at the turn of the century. We had fast pitch leagues going, and this area was renowned for its pitching. And they did a wonderful job when they started building this facility out here. But I've heard that there's a bit more to it than just Fort Auburn.
Well, there is. In the last 5 years, we've made a lot of improvements. We've gone from one ball field to two, and in cooperation with the Auburn Little League, we've added a new lighting system on both fields. It's considered green lighting, very environmentally sound. When they're programmed on through a fancy computer system, they're on and off when teams reserve them, so you don't see the lights on when nobody's here. And as part of Clean Sweep, 3 years ago, I believe, with the Auburn Little League, we planted a hedge of arborvitae around the entire park. And that was a great community project. And most of the improvements here were funded with 2 consecutive grants from King County, their youth sports grants, as well as other funding throughout the community. So this was a great cooperation project. It has 2 state-of-the-art Little League fields, and they are always busy. So it's really been a revitalized spot in the last 5 years.
You know, it isn't amazing. You know, you can probably hear the trucks in the background. We're right next to the train tracks, and in such an intensely urban area, we've got this great green, wonderful park with ball fields for our children and a great amount of history.
You know, and there's one more use of this park. It's the home of our parks maintenance division, where they take care of all of our parks, and also it's the site where we have our own nursery, where we grow all of the plants that we plant in our parks, work with the Auburn Garden Club, and all the beautiful hanging baskets you see on Main Street are propagated here on site. So we have our own nursery, which really helps stretch our planting dollars as well. We're at Mill Pond Park, a 4-acre park located in the south end of Auburn. But it's more than a park, so why don't you tell us about some of the physical features of what makes this a Storm Pondana park?
Well, you know, and it really has an interesting history. Behind us is the whole Lakeland development, all the way up that hillside. And the stormwater from that development comes on down the street and comes to that hillside behind us, and then it goes into a great giant vault It's actually under the parking lot where you see the tennis courts.
Correct.
And it's stored there. And then slowly, the water kind of seeps through a bioswale, and it goes down slowly underneath a little bridge and comes out into the pond. And it circulates through the pond, comes out to the far end, and then it's connected to the White River through a channel that goes right through by Riverside High School. And it's got a lot of features in it that are really ahead of their time, including one that your staff thought up with, which I thought was a wonderful idea. You hear that noise in the background?
I hear a generator.
That's a generator. And the reason there's a generator is because they decided it would be a great thing to be able to have fish in this. And we knew that there were a couple that maybe somebody might have dropped in there. And they saw that and said, well, if we just were able to oxygenate the water, we could have fish. So they figured it out. They put some lines in, and you can see the foam for where the oxygen is flowing through the water. And now we have tournaments here. We have tournaments for our children, for those that are handicapped, and for our elders. We have trout fishing tournaments, which is a great idea.
We do. We host 3 or 4 tournaments here a year, and it is considered a juvenile pond, and we're working with the state also on perhaps allowing seniors to use it as well. So the park is about 4 acres, of which the pond is probably a little over 1 of those acres. But often in the springtime, it's teeming with about 400 kids casting their lines. You usually yell, "Cast your lines," and it's a circus for a few minutes, but everybody comes home with a trout, and those are typically supplied by our Green River Steelheaders Association,
and they
who work great with us in helping keep the pond clean as well as stocked throughout the year. You know, the park also has a few other uses. There's a very nice about a half-mile walking trail around it, which I know the residents come off of Lakeland and use often, and we also share tennis courts with the school district where we offer tennis lessons as well. So it's a mixed-use park, but its primary purpose is water filtration and doubles as a fishing pond, so it's just a great site.
Isn't it excellent? And the vegetation around here with these trees, how it's growing up, and the bioswale that just looks like a really a neat feature of the park, really does a wonderful job of keeping our environment a little cleaner, working with the environment instead of using something far more artificial, and it's worked out to be a wonderful benefit. But you can come here early in the morning and you'll see the herons fly in, and they'll sit at the side. They never seem to get the big fish, which I'm glad to see, but they always seem to fill their breakfast needs pretty much on the spot.
Well, I enjoy this site a lot. It's one of my favorite parks.
It's a great place.